To make our chocolate truffles, we are first going to start out by making a ganache. So I've got some heavy cream here that I'm going to go ahead and add into my pan. And I have not turned my pan on yet. Get all that delicious cream in. I am using a 36% milk fat heavy cream. That is my preference, but you can use any type of heavy cream. I am also going to add in my corn syrup, and you can consult the recipe for the exact measurements. And then I'm just going to add in a pinch of salt. I'm going to go ahead and turn this on medium, and I want this to come to a gentle boil. So just a boil. So you'll know when the time is right, because you'll get little bubbles around the edge of the pan. I want to make sure that corn syrup gets in there. And I'm just going to keep stirring this until I get my boil. And then I will dump it over my chocolate, and I will let my chocolate sit for about 5 minutes. Now, if for some reason you don't heat this up enough to melt all of your chocolate, you could just pop it in the microwave for 10-second intervals until your chocolate melts. I'm using a 60% cocoa. This is Ghirardelli. If you use a milk chocolate, the ratios are going to be slightly different, so just stick with the dark chocolate for this. And then once you do pour the warm cream mixture over your chocolate and it completely melts and it's nice and incorporated, you're going to want to keep stirring it once all of your chocolate has melted until it gets nice and shiny. So now you can see I'm getting some bubbles here around the edges. So I'm going to just move that around so everything stays the same temperature. You'll notice that you'll start to get some steam, which is what we want. Once I get my chocolate nice and shiny and smooth, at that point you could stick it in the refrigerator, and you can keep it in the refrigerator for up to 4 weeks. All right, so that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and turn my burner off. See that steam coming up? And then I'm going to go ahead and just pour that right over my chocolate. And then I'm just going to push my chocolate down so that it's fully submerged. And then I'm just going to let this sit for 5 minutes, and then I'll come back and stir it. I'm going to let that sit for 5 minutes. It has been 5 minutes, and I'm just now mixing this all together. I want all of that cream and corn syrup and the salt that we did over the stove to get nice and incorporated. I want this to get really smooth, so if you need to kind of push down, if you feel like there's any little pieces that didn't get incorporated, just give them a good push. If you have big chunks still, as I mentioned, you can just put it back. You can put it in the microwave for 10 seconds, like 10-second increments. You don't want to burn the cream. Just go with 10-second intervals if you need to melt any chocolate. I'm just gonna keep stirring till it's nice and incorporated. And I can see if there's any other little pieces that still need to combine. Now you could increase this to make a large batch of truffles. You can also use this as filling once it solidifies for like cake or cupcakes. You can also use this to put inside of chocolates. if you wanted like a ganache filling and a molded chocolate. You would just want this to set up. And if you are going to use it in molded chocolates, then I would recommend that you get a piping bag to do that. I do have a storage container here that I'm going to transfer this to. This is wonderful on ice cream. So if you let this cool down a little bit and then leave it semi-pourable at this stage, you could put it on ice cream. It won't stay this fluid. It will firm up. You do want to put this in an airtight container. Now, if you are making this the day before, you can just simply cover it. I usually put a piece of plastic wrap down on top of it and then put the lid on, and you could leave that on the counter. If you're not going to be using it for a while, then I recommend that you still put the plastic on it and store it in the refrigerator. And then once you're ready to use it, bring it back out and let it come up to room temperature. I'm just agitating this so that it is nice and emulsified. Looks pretty good though. Okay, that looks good. I'm gonna first let it just cool down. I'm gonna just put the lid on it, let it cool down on the counter, and then once it's completely cooled down, then I'll push that piece of plastic wrap, put the lid back on, and then stick it in the refrigerator and just leave it in there until I'm ready to use it. This is all nice and glossy. It's still warm to the touch. I'm just going to put my lid on here and get some of that air out. And I'm just going to let this sit for 45 minutes. It has been 45 minutes and you can see that my ganache has set up. It is completely set up. At this point, I can put a piece of plastic wrap down all the way down onto the chocolate surface. Just like so. And that just helps to prevent a skin from forming. And then just put the lid on. If you're going to make truffles right away, meaning within a 24-hour period, just make this up 24 hours prior, and then you could just let it sit on the counter. If you are just trying to prep because you're making lots of things, you can make this up days in advance. It will actually keep in the refrigerator for 4 weeks. Just want to, at this point, if you're not going to use it right away, if you're not going to use it within 24 hours, just put it in the refrigerator. And right before you get ready to use it, just pull it out of the refrigerator and let it set on the kitchen counter so that it can at least kind of come up to room temp. And that's it.